Imagine a world without hospitals, surgical theaters, or even a fixed address. Now imagine thriving in it. For the nomadic peoples of the Eurasian steppe, from the Scythians and Sarmatians to the Turks and Mongols, this wasn't a temporary state, it was a way of life. Always on the move, chasing grazing pastures and evading enemies, they had no luxury for stationary institutions. And yet they developed a remarkably effective system of medicine, fluid, adaptive, and as mobile as the people it served. Nomadic medicine wasn't centered around buildings or bureaucracy. It was carried on horseback, stored in saddlebags, and passed down through spoken word, observation, and spiritual ritual. There were no clinics, no white coats. The healer came to you, or sometimes rode beside you into battle. This was medicine born out of necessity and honed by generations of intimate observation of the land, animals, and people. Nomads treated wounds in the field under the open sky, cured infections in felt tents, and delivered babies miles from the nearest settlement. Their methods may seem simple to modern eyes, but they were anything but primitive. Theirs was a holistic approach. Healing was not just about treating a physical symptom, it was about restoring balance between body, soul, and spirit. Illness was often seen as the result of disharmony with the natural world, with one's ancestors, or with unseen spirits. And so, medicine among the steppe peoples was never just a science, it was also deeply spiritual. Knowledge came not from books but from lived experience. The role of healer often fell to shamans, elders, or those with an inherited calling. They memorized plant lore, knew how to reduce fevers with goat's milk or willow bark, and could set a broken bone using leather straps and smooth river stones. But they also spoke to spirits, performed purification rituals, and interpreted dreams. Nomadic medicine was shaped by resilience. You couldn't wait for a specialist. You had to know how to act quickly and wisely. Every rider, every mother, every elder was expected to know something about health because survival depended on it. In a world that moved with the wind and lived on horseback, medicine had to keep up, and somehow it did. In the world of nomadic medicine, the most powerful healer wasn't a doctor in a white coat, it was the shaman. Shamans held a unique place in steppe societies. They were part healer, part priest, part psychologist, and part performer. Often chosen through visions, dreams, or signs of spiritual sensitivity, shamans were believed to walk between worlds, the physical and the spiritual, the living and the dead, the seen and the unseen. To a nomadic community, illness wasn't just a biological problem. It could be the result of offending a spirit, angering an ancestor, or being struck by the malevolent gaze of an evil eye. Physical symptoms were interpreted through a spiritual lens. That's where the shaman came in. When someone fell ill, especially with no clear injury or explanation, the shaman was summoned. Dressed in elaborate robes made of fur, feathers, bones, and bells, they would enter a trance, sometimes with the help of rhythmic drumming, chanting, or inhaling smoke from sacred herbs. In this altered state, the shaman would attempt to communicate with spirits to find the source of the illness. Healing rituals might involve drawing illness out of the body with the help of talismans or feathers, chanting protective spells, or using sacred objects like mirrors to reflect spiritual harm. Some rituals required sacrifices of animals, milk, or incense to appease the spirit world, but shamans weren't only spiritual mediators, they were also practical healers. Many had a deep understanding of medicinal herbs, midwifery, and emergency care. They could dress wounds, reduce fevers, and treat common ailments. What made them unique was that they saw the body and soul as one, never separated. Interestingly, shamans often served multiple communities across the steppe. Their fame spread not through social media but through oral tradition. A powerful healer might be summoned from hundreds of miles away to perform a cure. Gender roles varied. In some cultures, shamans were predominantly male. In others, especially among Turkic and Siberian nomads, female shamans were equally respected. Some were even gender fluid, seen as spiritually powerful because they existed outside conventional roles. In times of illness, it was the shaman's tent that offered both comfort and confrontation. A place where healing meant facing not only your pain but the spirits behind it. To the nomads, health was not just about survival. It was about balance with the world you rode through and the worlds you couldn't see. With no apothecaries or stocked pharmacies, nomadic healers relied on what the land offered. And the steppe offered more than you'd think. the vast grasslands of Central Asia, Siberia, and the Caucasus weren't just grazing territory for horses and sheep, they were medicine cabinets. Plants, minerals, animal parts, every natural element was fair game for healing. Knowledge of these remedies was passed down orally generation to generation, often guarded by elders, midwives, and shamans. Take the yarrow plant for example. Common across Eurasia, it was crushed into a paste to stop bleeding. Willow bark, which contains salicin, the compound from which aspirin is derived, was brewed into tea to treat fevers and inflammation. Juniper berries were burned in ritual purification, but also brewed as a tonic for digestive issues and used to disinfect wounds. Garlic, wild onions, and fermented mare's milk, arrack, were frequently used as immunity boosters. Herbal treatments weren't just about ingredients, they were about timing. Plants were gathered at specific times of year, under specific moon phases, or after particular rituals. Some herbs were dried and stored in leather pouches, others had to be used fresh. The preparation was just as important as the plant itself. Animal-based medicine also had its place. Yak or sheep fat was used to treat frostbite. Bear bile and deer antler shavings were believed to boost vitality. Horse milk, rich in vitamin C, was not only a daily drink but also a common remedy for weakness, fatigue, and even depression. And then there were stones and minerals. Powdered limestone was sometimes applied to wounds to dry them out. Sulfur was burned to cleanse sick tents. Salt was essential not only for preservation but for purging and disinfecting. What's striking about nomadic pharmacology is its holistic nature. Remedies were rarely administered alone. A tea came with a prayer. A wound was treated while a charm was tied around the wrist. Physical and spiritual healing went hand in hand. Healers knew their environments intimately. They could look at a patch of wildflowers and tell you which were safe to eat, which could calm a cough, and which would kill a man by morning. That knowledge wasn't written down, it was lived, and if you wanted to survive the open steppe, you didn't just need a sword, you needed someone who could tell roots from poison. Nomadic life wasn't just about tending livestock or herding across open plains. It was a life of war, raids, and physical hardship. And when bones cracked or blood flowed, healing had to be swift, smart, and mobile. Battlefield medicine was a vital skill among nomads, especially for warrior cultures like the Scythians, Huns, Turks, and Mongols. In these societies, everyone knew how to ride and fight, and that meant injuries were common, from broken ribs to deep lacerations. Nomadic healers had to act fast, often with nothing more than a saddlebag of tools and a sharp mind. Bone setting was one of the most valued healing arts. Dislocations, fractures, and joint injuries were treated using surprisingly advanced techniques. Healers used animal sinew or strips of rawhide as makeshift splints. Smooth stones or carved bone braces kept limbs immobile. Dislocated joints were popped back into place with controlled leverage, a skill that was part art, part brute force. Wounds were cleaned using boiled water, alcohol from fermented milk, or infused herbal tonics. Cauterization was commonly practiced, heating a metal tool in fire and pressing it to a wound to stop bleeding and prevent infection. Painful, yes, but effective. It meant the difference between life and death in an age before antibiotics. Suturing techniques also existed. Horsehair or sheep gut could be used as thread and bone needles were common. Wounds were stitched, then sealed with natural resins or animal fat to protect them from dirt and bacteria. In serious cases, bloodletting was employed. Not always out of superstition, but as a method to relieve swelling, bruising, or perceived imbalances in the body. Horns, blades, and even leeches were used, depending on the tribe and the condition. Interestingly, battlefield surgery didn't only happen after a fight, it often took place during it. Some shamans or senior warriors carried small kits to dress wounds mid-battle. Quick thinking and crude field dressings kept soldiers fighting longer and helped prevent infection from setting in early. Even dentistry wasn't ignored. Cracked or rotting teeth were pulled using iron tools. For toothaches, they applied a paste made of clove oil, ground bone, and wild herbs directly to the gum. Nomads couldn't afford long recovery times. Their medicine had to be portable, fast, and effective. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. And when you live in a world where danger gallops just over the next hill, that's all that mattered. Among nomadic peoples, the birth of a child was both a blessing and a battlefield. Without permanent shelters, maternity wards, or trained obstetricians, childbirth on the steppe was a dangerous yet sacred event, handled almost entirely by women using a mix of experience, herbal knowledge, spiritual ritual, and sheer resilience. Midwives were central to this world. They weren't formally trained, but they carried generations of knowledge passed down through observation and oral tradition. These women knew how to position a baby, how to soothe a mother in labor, and how to act fast when things went wrong. Births typically happened inside gurs or yurts, the felt-covered tents of the steppe, which could be made warm, clean, and private. The mother would squat, stand, or lean against another woman during delivery, positions that used gravity to assist the birth and minimized prolonged labor. The midwife monitored the baby's position, adjusted the mother's breathing, and massaged her abdomen to encourage contractions. Pain management came through both herbal remedies and ritual. A tea made of valerian root or wild poppy might be used to calm the mother's nerves. Juniper smoke was often burned to cleanse the space and drive away malevolent spirits. The presence of charms, amulets, and whispered blessings helped create a sense of protection. If complications arose, breech birth, hemorrhaging, retained placenta, the midwife had limited options, but a lifetime of practiced intuition. Herbs like shepherd's purse or yarrow were used to control bleeding. Pressure techniques and warm compresses were applied to help reposition the fetus. In rare cases, forced delivery by hand might be attempted, a dangerous move but sometimes the only choice. Once the baby was born, horse milk or warm sheep's milk was often the first nourishment, especially if the mother was weak. The umbilical cord was cut with a sterilized knife or flint, then tied with a string soaked in alcohol or brine. The baby was swaddled in felt and anointed with protective symbols, sometimes soot or oils placed on the forehead or chest. Infant mortality was high, but when both mother and child survived, it was cause for major celebration. The newborn was not just a child. It was the future of the clan, another rider for the endless steppe. And for nomads that meant everything. Not all illnesses came from wounds or weather. Sometimes the body broke without explanation. The man would grow weak despite eating well, a child would stop speaking, a warrior would suffer nightmares and refuse to ride. These were not just illnesses, they were signs of a spirit sickness. For the nomads of the steppe, the invisible was just as real as the visible. They believed that spiritual imbalance, curses, or offended ancestors could manifest as disease. This wasn't superstition, it was an integrated part of their worldview, where health depended on harmony between the physical and the spiritual. When someone fell mysteriously ill, they didn't always call the midwife or the bone setter. They called the shaman. The shaman would examine the symptoms, not just physical ones, but emotional and behavioral changes. Was the patient talking to unseen things? Had they become withdrawn? Were they unusually angry or afraid? These were signs that the illness came from another world. Diagnosis involved ritual. The shaman might burn herbs like mugwort or juniper, chant to the ancestors, or use objects like bones, mirrors, or drums to read the spirit world. The illness could be caused by a wandering soul, an angry ancestor, or a demonic force. Sometimes it was said that the person's soul had left the body and become lost. To heal, the shaman performed soul retrieval rituals. These were dramatic events. The shaman might don elaborate costumes, mimic the behavior of animals, or speak in strange voices. All of this was intended to draw the spirit's attention, negotiate its return, or chase away harmful forces. Talismans were placed under pillows, protective tattoos were drawn, salt circles were laid around the yurt. Some shamans used animal sacrifices, offering the blood of a lamb or goat to appease the spirit realm. For more common spiritual afflictions like nightmares, infertility, or melancholy, smaller rituals were held. Dreamcatcher-like charms made of bones, feathers, and thread were hung over sleeping areas. Special songs were sung. Milk or vodka was poured as an offering to the spirits. What modern medicine might call trauma, depression, or psychosis, nomadic societies treated through story, ritual, and deep communal care. The illness was not just yours, it affected the tribe, and healing meant bringing the whole world back into balance. In the absence of medical schools or written manuals, how did nomadic societies preserve and pass down medical knowledge? The answer: collective memory. Nomadic medicine was not centralized in universities or locked away in elite circles. It lived in the mouths of elders, in the hands of mothers, and in the practices of every rider, hunter, and healer. It was communal, taught through demonstration, remembered through story, and refined through lived experience on the open steppe. Children grew up watching injuries treated after horse falls or fevers soothed with herbal steam. By the time they reached adulthood, they knew the basics: how to stop bleeding with moss, how to prepare a root tea for stomach cramps, how to recognize the signs of a spiritual affliction. Knowledge wasn't given through formal lessons, it was embedded in daily life. Elders played a crucial role. Grandmothers especially were often walking encyclopedias of medicinal knowledge. They knew which plants to gather in spring, how to prepare a poultice for swollen joints, or how to ease childbirth pains with rhythmic chanting and breath control. Many acted as informal doctors within the clan, treating ailments while telling stories that carried layers of coded advice and health wisdom. Shamans trained apprentices not through classrooms but through mentorship. A chosen pupil might spend years learning how to interpret dreams, prepare ritual tools, or enter trance states safely. The training was personal, intuitive, and deeply spiritual. There were no exams, but failure could mean disaster for both patient and healer. The communal nature of knowledge also meant that nomadic medicine could adapt. If a new herb was discovered while migrating to unfamiliar lands, its effects were tested, documented orally, and shared. A new treatment might be tried on a sick animal before a human. If it worked, it became part of the tribe's living knowledge. This oral tradition had its vulnerabilities. Disease outbreaks could wipe out entire family lines and their medicinal wisdom with them. But it also had its strengths. It was flexible, dynamic, and resilient. It could travel with the tribe, change with the seasons, and adapt to new threats. In a world where everything moved, the one constant was memory. Not written in books but in the rhythm of everyday life. A knowledge passed not by pen but by firelight, sweat, and story. For nomadic societies, animals weren't just companions or commodities. They were lifelines. Horses, sheep, yaks, goats, and camels formed the backbone of steppe economies, culture, and even spiritual life. So naturally, caring for animal health was just as critical as healing human wounds, sometimes more so. Animal medicine was a highly developed parallel system, often overseen by the same people who treated human ailments. In fact, the line between veterinary and human medicine was blurred. If something could heal a sick goat, it might work for a person and vice versa. The bond between rider and horse especially shaped a deep understanding of physiology, trauma, and recovery. Common illnesses like hoof rot, skin infections, respiratory issues, or parasites were treated with herbal mixtures, poultices, and smoke. Burned juniper and wormwood smoke wasn't just used for humans. It was also waved over stables to disinfect the air and repel pests. Fleas and ticks were driven off with crushed garlic rubbed into the animal's fur or skin. For deeper infections or open wounds, healers might use heated metal to cauterize, just like with humans. Horse fat or sheep tallow was applied to wounds to prevent cracking and promote healing, especially in winter. Broken bones in animals were rare but not impossible, and were treated with wooden braces and tightly wrapped leather bindings, followed by enforced rest. The animal might be hobbled or kept close to camp while it healed. Colic in horses, a potentially fatal condition, was treated with massaging, herbal tonics, and in some cases, forced walking to restart the digestive system. For milk animals, mastitis, a breast infection, was known and treated with warm compresses and constant milking to relieve pressure. What's remarkable is that these treatments were learned without books, lab testing, or diagnostics. They came from generational observation and close living with animals. A nomadic herder could look at a camel's gait and know something was wrong. A grandmother could hear the tone of a sheep's bleat and recognize fever. The spiritual dimension was never far off either. Animals were believed to be affected by spirits just like people. A shaman might bless a sick horse or perform a cleansing ritual for a herd stricken with illness. Because if the animals died, the people didn't just lose wealth. They lost movement, milk, meat, and mobility. Healing the herd meant healing the heart of nomadic life. Though modern hospitals, pharmaceuticals, and globalized healthcare have changed the way we view medicine, the legacy of nomadic healing still lingers, quietly resilient, often overlooked but remarkably enduring. Many of the remedies once carried in leather pouches and whispered in windswept tents have found validation in modern science. Willow bark is now recognized as the natural precursor to aspirin. Juniper smoke is understood to have antimicrobial properties. Techniques like bone setting, herbal poultices, and warm compresses continue to be used around the world, some unchanged for centuries. But more than the remedies themselves, it's the philosophy behind nomadic medicine that still speaks to us today. Steppe healing was built on adaptability. It didn't rely on sterile labs or climate-controlled facilities. It relied on being observant, inventive, and grounded in nature. It wasn't about cure so much as balance, restoring harmony between the body, the community, the spirit world, and the land. This mindset is returning in a world increasingly overwhelmed by synthetic quick fixes and impersonal healthcare systems. There's a growing hunger for holistic medicine, for plant-based treatments, and for respectful integration of traditional knowledge. What was once dismissed as superstition is now being re-evaluated as a body of experiential wisdom, tested, adapted, and preserved through the sheer necessity of survival. In Mongolia and across Central Asia, nomadic medicine is still practiced. Healers still prepare teas from wild herbs, still perform shamanic rituals, still teach children the signs of a sick animal or the first symptom of frostbite. Even among modernized populations, remnants of this tradition persist, woven into cultural identity like thread through felt. Of course, not all steppe medicine was safe or effective. Some rituals were based on belief rather than biology. But the human insight, the awareness of emotional health, the power of communal care, the role of nature in healing, these remain timeless. Nomadic medicine teaches us that healing doesn't have to be high-tech to be profound. It shows that care can exist in a tent on a mountain in the middle of nowhere, that a healer doesn't need a degree to be wise, that health is as much about connection, to people, to place, to purpose, as it is about biology, and in that lesson the steppe still speaks. In the modern world, where medicine is often associated with high technology and complex procedures, the wisdom of nomadic medicine reminds us of the power of nature and the importance of harmony. Nomadic peoples did not have access to modern drugs or medical equipment, but they possessed deep knowledge of herbs, animals, and spiritual practices that helped them survive and thrive in harsh conditions. One of the key aspects of nomadic medicine was the use of natural resources. Every plant, every mineral, and every part of an animal could be used for healing. For example, licorice root was used to treat coughs and colds, and chamomile was used to soothe nerves and improve sleep. This knowledge was passed down from generation to generation, and each family had its own recipes and treatment methods. Nomadic peoples also understood the importance of prevention. They knew that preventing diseases was much better than treating them. Therefore, they paid great attention to hygiene, nutrition, and physical activity. For example, they regularly cleaned their teeth with special herbs, ate fresh vegetables and fruits, and led an active lifestyle, which helped maintain their health. Spiritual practices also played an important role in nomadic medicine. Shamans and healers used various rituals and ceremonies to treat illnesses. They believed that diseases could be caused not only by physical but also by spiritual reasons, and that for complete healing it was necessary to restore harmony between the body and the spirit. These practices included meditation, prayers, ritual dances, and the use of sacred objects. One of the most interesting aspects of nomadic medicine was the use of animals. Nomadic peoples had deep knowledge of animal behavior and health, and they used this knowledge to treat humans. For example, they knew which herbs could be used to treat animal wounds, and applied the same herbs to treat humans. They also used animal products, such as milk, meat, and fat to strengthen health and treat various ailments. Nomadic medicine also teaches us the importance of community and mutual aid. In nomadic societies, every member of the community played an important role in maintaining the health and well-being of all. Knowledge and skills were passed down from elders to the younger generation, and each person contributed to the common cause. This created a strong sense of unity and mutual support, which was necessary for survival in harsh conditions. In the modern world, we can learn a lot from nomadic medicine. We can use natural resources to strengthen our health, pay more attention to disease prevention, and use spiritual practices to restore harmony between body and spirit. We can also strengthen the sense of community and mutual aid, which will help us create a healthier and happier society. Nomadic medicine reminds us that health is not just the absence of disease, but a state of complete physical, spiritual, and social well-being. It teaches us to live in harmony with nature and use its gifts to strengthen our health. It shows us that even in the harshest conditions, ways to survive and thrive can be found, and that true wisdom lies in the ability to adapt and find balance. In conclusion, nomadic medicine is not just a historical artifact. but a living tradition that continues to inspire and teach us. It reminds us of the importance of nature, spirituality, and community, and shows how these elements can be integrated into modern medicine to create a more holistic and harmonious approach to health. In our fast-paced, technology-driven world, the ancient wisdom of nomadic medicine offers a refreshing perspective on health and well-being. It invites us to slow down, reconnect with nature, and listen to the innate wisdom of our bodies. This holistic approach to health is not just about treating symptoms, but about nurturing the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. One of the most profound lessons from nomadic medicine is the importance of living in harmony with nature. Nomadic peoples understood that their health was intricately connected to the health of the land and the animals they depended on. They respected the natural world and lived in a way that was sustainable and balanced. This deep connection to nature is something that many of us have lost in our modern, urbanized lives. By reconnecting with nature, we can tap into a source of healing and wisdom that has been passed down through generations. Nomadic medicine also emphasizes the importance of community and social connections. In nomadic societies, health was not just an individual concern, but a communal one. People looked out for each other, shared their knowledge and resources, and supported each other in times of need. This sense of community and mutual aid is something that we can cultivate in our own lives. By building strong, supportive communities, we can create a network of care and support that enhances our overall well-being. Another key aspect of nomadic medicine is the use of spiritual practices for healing. Shamans and healers used rituals, ceremonies, and sacred objects to treat illnesses and restore harmony. These practices were not just about addressing physical symptoms, but about healing the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. In our modern world, we can incorporate spiritual practices into our daily lives to enhance our well-being. Whether it's through meditation, prayer, or other spiritual practices, we can tap into a source of inner strength and wisdom that supports our health and healing. Nomadic medicine also teaches us the importance of adaptability and resilience. Nomadic peoples lived in harsh and unpredictable environments, and they had to be adaptable and resourceful to survive. They developed a deep understanding of the natural world and used this knowledge to adapt to changing conditions. This ability to adapt and thrive in challenging circumstances is something that we can cultivate in our own lives. By developing our resilience and adaptability, we can better navigate the ups and downs of life and maintain our health and well-being. In addition to these broader lessons, there are also specific practices and remedies from nomadic medicine that we can incorporate into our modern lives. For example, many of the herbs and plants used in nomadic medicine have been scientifically validated and are now used in modern herbal medicine. We can use these natural remedies to support our health and well-being, while also benefiting from the wisdom and knowledge of traditional healing practices. Another practice from nomadic medicine that we can incorporate into our modern lives is the use of animal products for healing. Nomadic peoples used products such as milk, meat, and fat to strengthen their health and treat various ailments. While our modern diets may be different, we can still benefit from the nutritional and healing properties of these animal products. For example, bone broth, which is rich in nutrients and has been used for centuries in traditional healing practices, is now gaining popularity as a health food in the modern world. Finally, nomadic medicine reminds us of the importance of prevention and proactive care. Nomadic peoples understood that preventing diseases was much better than treating them, and they took proactive steps to maintain their health and well-being. In our modern world, we can also take a proactive approach to our health by focusing on prevention and adopting healthy lifestyle practices. This includes eating a balanced diet, staying physically active, managing stress, and getting regular checkups and screenings. In conclusion, the wisdom of nomadic medicine offers valuable insights and practices that can enhance our modern approach to health and well-being. By reconnecting with nature, building strong communities, incorporating spiritual practices, developing our resilience, and focusing on prevention, we can create a more holistic and harmonious approach to health. The ancient wisdom of nomadic medicine reminds us that true health is not just about the absence of disease, but about living in harmony with ourselves, each other, and the natural world. In our fast-paced, technology-driven world, the ancient wisdom of nomadic medicine offers a refreshing perspective on health and well-being. It invites us to slow down, reconnect with nature, and listen to the innate wisdom of our bodies. This holistic approach to health is not just about treating symptoms, but about nurturing the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. Living in harmony with nature. One of the most profound lessons from nomadic medicine is the importance of living in harmony with nature. Nomadic peoples understood that their health was intricately connected to the health of the land and the animals they depended on. They respected the natural world and lived in a way that was sustainable and balanced. This deep connection to nature is something that many of us have lost in our modern, urbanized lives. By reconnecting with nature, we can tap into a source of healing and wisdom that has been passed down through generations. The healing power of plants. Nomadic peoples had an extensive knowledge of the medicinal properties of plants. They used herbs not only to treat illnesses but also to maintain overall health and prevent diseases. For example, they used yarrow to stop bleeding, willow bark to reduce fever, and juniper berries to aid digestion. These plants were often prepared in specific ways, such as teas, poultices, or tinctures, to maximize their healing properties. In our modern world, we can learn from this plant wisdom by incorporating more natural remedies into our lives. Herbal teas, essential oils, and plant-based supplements can support our health and well-being. Moreover, spending time in nature, whether it's through gardening, hiking, or simply sitting in a park, can have profound benefits for our mental and physical health. Animal companions and healing animals played a crucial role in the lives of nomadic peoples, providing not only food and transportation but also companionship and healing. The bond between humans and animals was deeply spiritual and practical. For instance, horse milk was used for its nutritional and medicinal properties, and animal fats were applied to wounds to promote healing. In our modern lives, we can also benefit from the healing power of animals. Pet therapy, for example, has been shown to reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and improve overall well-being. Whether it's through owning a pet, spending time with animals in nature, or incorporating animal products into our diets, we can tap into the healing bond between humans and animals. The importance of community. Nomadic medicine also emphasizes the importance of community and social connections. In nomadic societies, health was not just an individual concern but a communal one. People looked out for each other, shared their knowledge and resources, and supported each other in times of need. This sense of community and mutual aid is something that we can cultivate in our own lives. By building strong, supportive communities, we can create a network of care and support that enhances our overall well-being. Sharing knowledge and skills. In nomadic cultures, knowledge and skills were shared freely among community members. Elders passed down their wisdom to the younger generations, ensuring that valuable information about healing practices, plant lore, and survival skills was preserved. This communal approach to knowledge ensured that everyone had access to the information they needed to stay healthy and thrive. In our modern world, we can foster this sense of shared knowledge by creating communities where information and skills are freely exchanged. This can be done through community gardens, workshops, online forums, or simply by sharing our knowledge and experiences with others. By building a culture of shared learning, we can support each other's health and well-being. Mutual aid and support. Mutual aid was a cornerstone of nomadic societies. People helped each other in times of need, whether it was through sharing food, providing shelter, or offering emotional support. This sense of mutual aid created a strong social safety net that ensured everyone's needs were met. In our modern lives, we can also practice mutual aid by supporting each other in times of need. This can be done through formal mutual aid networks, community support groups, or simply by being there for our friends and neighbors. By fostering a culture of mutual aid, we can create a more resilient and supportive community. Spiritual practices for healing. Another key aspect of nomadic medicine is the use of spiritual practices for healing. Shamans and healers used rituals, ceremonies, and sacred objects to treat illnesses and restore harmony. These practices were not just about addressing physical symptoms, but about healing the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. In our modern world, we can incorporate spiritual practices into our daily lives to enhance our well-being. Meditation and mindfulness practices were an integral part of nomadic healing traditions. These practices helped individuals connect with their inner selves, reduce stress, and promote overall well-being. By incorporating meditation and mindfulness into our daily routines, we can tap into these ancient practices to support our mental and emotional health. Rituals and ceremonies played a significant role in nomadic healing practices. These rituals were designed to restore balance and harmony, both within the individual and the community. In our modern lives, we can create our own rituals and ceremonies to mark important events, celebrate milestones, and honor our personal journeys. These practices can help us connect with our inner selves and the broader community, fostering a sense of belonging and support. Adaptability and resilience. Nomadic medicine also teaches us the importance of adaptability and resilience. Nomadic peoples lived in harsh and unpredictable environments, and they had to be adaptable and resourceful to survive. They developed a deep understanding of the natural world and used this knowledge to adapt to changing conditions. This ability to adapt and thrive in challenging circumstances is something that we can cultivate in our own lives. By developing our resilience and adaptability, we can better navigate the ups and downs of life and maintain our health and well-being. Learning from adversity, nomadic peoples face numerous challenges and adversities, from harsh weather conditions to scarce resources. These challenges taught them resilience and adaptability, enabling them to thrive in difficult circumstances. In our modern lives, we can also learn from adversity by viewing challenges as opportunities for growth and development. By cultivating a mindset of resilience, we can better navigate life's difficulties and emerge stronger and more capable. Embracing change. Change was a constant in the lives of nomadic peoples. Whether it was through seasonal migrations, changing environments, or evolving social dynamics, they embraced change as a natural part of life and adapted their practices and knowledge accordingly. In our modern world, we can also embrace change by being open to new experiences, adapting to new circumstances, and continuously learning and growing. By embracing change, we can foster a sense of adaptability and resilience that supports our overall well-being. Specific practices and remedies. In addition to these broader lessons, there are also specific practices and remedies from nomadic medicine that we can incorporate into our modern lives. For example, many of the herbs and plants used in nomadic medicine have been scientifically validated and are now used in modern herbal medicine. We can use these natural remedies to support our health and well-being, while also benefiting from the wisdom and knowledge of traditional healing practices. Herbal remedies were a cornerstone of nomadic medicine. Nomadic peoples used a wide variety of herbs to treat various ailments, from digestive issues to respiratory infections. Many of these herbs have been scientifically validated and are now used in modern herbal medicine. For example, echinacea is used to boost the immune system, ginger is used to aid digestion, and chamomile is used to promote relaxation and sleep. In our modern lives, we can incorporate these herbal remedies into our daily routines. Herbal teas, tinctures, and supplements can support our health and well-being. Moreover, growing our own herbs and learning about their medicinal properties can connect us with the ancient wisdom of nomadic medicine and enhance our overall well-being. Animal products. For healing, animal products played a significant role in nomadic healing practices. Products such as milk, meat, and fat were used for their nutritional and medicinal properties. For example, bone broth, which is rich in nutrients and has been used for centuries in traditional healing practices, is now gaining popularity as a health food in the modern world. In our modern diets, we can also benefit from the nutritional and healing properties of animal products. Incorporating bone broth, fermented dairy products, and other animal-based foods into our diets can support our health and well-being. Moreover, understanding the traditional uses of these products can connect us with the ancient wisdom of nomadic medicine and enhance our overall well-being. Prevention and proactive care. Finally, nomadic medicine reminds us of the importance of prevention and proactive care. nomadic peoples understood that preventing diseases was much better than treating them, and they took proactive steps to maintain their health and well-being. In our modern world, we can also take a proactive approach to our health by focusing on prevention and adopting healthy lifestyle practices. Healthy diet and nutrition. A healthy diet was a cornerstone of nomadic health practices. Nomadic peoples consumed a diet rich in nutrients, including fresh fruits and vegetables, lean meats and dairy products. This balanced diet supported their overall health and well-being. In our modern lives, we can also focus on a healthy diet to support our well-being. Consuming a balanced diet rich in fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains can provide the nutrients we need to maintain our health. Moreover, understanding the traditional dietary practices of nomadic peoples can connect us with their ancient wisdom and enhance our overall well-being. Physical activity and exercise. Physical activity was an integral part of nomadic life. Nomadic peoples engaged in regular physical activity, including riding, hunting, and herding, which supported their overall health and well-being. In our modern lives, we can also incorporate regular physical activity into our routines. Whether it's through exercise, sports, or simply staying active throughout the day, physical activity can support our health and well-being. Stress management and mental health. Nomadic peoples understood the importance of managing stress and maintaining mental health. They used various practices, including meditation, mindfulness, and spiritual rituals, to support their mental and emotional well-being. In our modern lives, we can also focus on stress management and mental health. Practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and therapy can support our mental and emotional well-being and enhance our overall health. Conclusion. In conclusion, the wisdom of nomadic medicine offers valuable insights and practices that can enhance our modern approach to health and well-being. By reconnecting with nature, building strong communities, incorporating spiritual practices, developing our resilience, and focusing on prevention, we can create a more holistic and harmonious approach to health. The ancient wisdom of nomadic medicine reminds us that true health is not just about the absence of disease, but about living in harmony with ourselves, each other, and the natural world. By embracing these lessons and practices, we can create a more balanced and fulfilling life, one that honors the ancient wisdom of nomadic medicine and supports our overall well-being. In doing so, we can tap into a source of healing and wisdom that has been passed down through generations and create a more harmonious and resilient approach to health and well-being.